Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Twenties Detox, where we get real about adulthood in your 20s, the learnings, the unlearnings, everything. And today I'm going to be getting into what is called analysis paralysis, where you essentially get into a state where you're overthinking so many things to the point that you just cannot come to a decision at all. I'm about to turn 25 in a few weeks, and with that, I'm finding a lot of pressures to be this new and improved person. I've just been thinking about so many things that I should have done, or I could do, should do, and I'm having a really hard time navigating all of these pressures right now. For me, at least, with this analysis paralysis, one of the negatives about what I'm going to be getting into is feelings of depression and just self-blame about feeling really behind in life. And I kind of want to strip everything down and get really real with you in how so much of that just doesn't matter. And we put so much pressure on ourselves to be this put together person by the age of 25, and it's just like it doesn't work like that. The last week I just spent 4 days on a birthday trip. So my family and I were in Montreal for a day. We visited some family and friends, and then afterwards we went to Mont Tremblant to do some skiing, and it was so much fun and I loved it. I really did. I felt like it kind of helped me get out of such a yucky mind space that I've been in. And one of the things that I've always learned about depression is you really can't rush the process. You don't want to rot in it, letting yourself feel, but also not letting yourself kind of rot away and let all the limiting beliefs come back. And I was watching a video by Hitomi while I was on this trip, and she also was going through a pretty depressive time. And for some reason, just seeing somebody who I look up to a lot go into those states again just made me feel way less alone. And I just hope that if any of you guys, if you look up to me and what I share, and you feel that you are in the same state and you're looking at me and you're like, well, this girl's in that same state too, you're not alone. And I think no matter what, if you are human and you are a sensitive person, you will get into these states here and there. It's just what life is about, to experience every range of emotion. To just try not dwell so deeply into it is what's really important. But don't rush through the process. This trip definitely brought me back into a better state of being. But as I was on this trip, I had a lot of time in the car before. It's about a 5-hour drive to Montreal from here and 7-hour drive to Mont Tremblant from here. So that was the drive back. And while I was in the car, I decided to work on my blog and just newsletter in general, and just try and figure out what I could share for this week that's kind of been on my mind. This analysis paralysis is something that I am very, very much struggling with right now. I have a lot of choices that I need to start making in my life, and I need to just choose a direction. I just need to choose something. But for me, I am a massive overthinker, and I just go through so many things about all these decisions to the point where it overwhelms me, and I just don't know what to do, and I don't want to take any action. So we're going to break it down today about what it means to have analysis paralysis, how to beat it, and I'm also sharing 6 principles that I'm going to start to adopt. I was inspired by other people, but near the end of it, I was like, you know what? These are the 6 things for me that I need to remember so that I don't get stuck in this loop of analysis paralysis so much. So let's get into it. I already was talking about how I was dealing with this list of shoulds that I should do in my life. I should move out of my parents' house by now. I should be making more money. I should be working out more consistently. I should be using my retinol every night to stop aging. I should be expanding my network. I should be maybe looking into more school. I should, and it was just getting so overwhelming. And I just think about how so many people put the pressure on themselves to do things that they should do. And I want to just talk about a very simple switch, a mindset switch that can help you take this weight off. And it's one word, by changing it into could. I could do this. I could do that. It takes away the pressure so much, being like, it could be a possibility. And I should do it, because the should means that you are feeling like somebody is telling you what to do. Could means I have the power into deciding whether or not this is best aligned with what I want and who I am. I could move out of my parents' home by now. I could be making more money. I could be using my retinol more often. I could be working out more. I could be expanding my network. And that just seems like a lighter push to me to start somewhere. I should feels kind of like an angry teacher telling me based on a rubric of what I should do. And I just naturally resist that kind of energy. So if you struggle with that, that's a little switch. But I also wanted to talk about something that I was listening to in the car while I was going to Montreal. Like I said, it was a really long drive. And it was when I was kind of researching about this blog post, and I came across this TED Talk called The Paradox of Choice. It was by the psychologist Barry Schwartz, who coined that term, and he basically explained that although having more choices in your life can provide more freedom, can broaden your horizons, it can be really great, right? But it can also cause more anxiety, what we're going to be diving into with this analysis paralysis, and dissatisfaction with any choices you make in your life. So that got me wondering, like, holy crap, I know, like, in my generation, the amount of choices that we have right now is insane. And he referenced back to our grandparents' generation. They didn't have a lot of freedom. They didn't have a lot of choice. They followed this rubric of being like, okay, I finished school, marriage, kids, and then these traditional roles of the male will go into being the provider, and then the woman will be the homemaker. And then that is what they take on. They don't really think much out of that, because honestly, they didn't have that luxury. We have this luxury of reinventing everything about ourselves, how we identify, who we want to be, what roles we want to play, what relationship we want to be in, if we want to be in a relationship or not, if we want to have kids or not. We have that freedom. But the problem is, unless we really know ourselves and what we want versus what so many people on social media as well are kind of promoting that they're doing, if we don't know what we want, we get so overwhelmed that we kind of want to dabble in everything and we don't commit to anything. He was saying with the abundance of choice, there are 4 main negatives that so many of us experience. And the first one is regret of decision. So we have this fear of making the wrong choice. We are afraid of having this regret over a decision that we make, that it limits our wanting to make any action. It fuels this analysis paralysis, having that fear. The next one is opportunity costs. We have so many options around us. Like, we have so many options. My grandma, when she wanted to go buy a pair of jeans, there'd be like 1 pair of jeans. We have so many different types of jeans. We have flared, we have skinny, we have straight, we have boot cut, we have mom jeans, dad jeans, we have everything. Boyfriend jeans. I don't actually think there's dad jeans. That's kind of weird. Anyway, we have so many options. And the thing is, we have more benefits, we have more freedom, but we also have more costs of maybe if we make the wrong decision. So even if we do make a decision, say I choose to get the straight cut jeans, and I make that decision, I'm going to be being like, what if I decided to choose the flare jeans? Would I have liked them more? Our grandparents, they got that 1 pair of jeans and they never questioned it. That's kind of a very simple analogy to anything. So like if we want to choose a career, we have so many different options of careers now. And also we can expand past the traditional roles that were given to us as a female, male. We can do what we want. But then when we choose a degree or we choose a career, a lot of us can sometimes question, could I have chosen something better? The next one is called Escalation of Expectations. Because we have so many choices, we have so many resources in our life, we can have the tools to make a pretty damn perfect choice. We have the ability now to research, Google, ask friends, look at everything around us to make the decision that best suits us. And sometimes we make a really good decision. It's almost perfect. Like that pair of jeans could have never fit better. The tone is great, it fits amazing. But the problem is the next time you go shopping, your standards are so much higher. We have this perfectionism that's starting to develop within us to make better decisions. So that's the escalation of expectations. Our standards keep getting higher and higher and higher. The fourth one is called self-blame. If you make the wrong decision, so it's not like we made the right decision, we made the wrong decision. Instead of thinking like it's the system in place, we flip it into always being, this is a me issue, something's wrong with me, I'm not smart enough, I'm not good enough. I know sometimes I have a hard time fitting things that fit my chest. I will order something online, something won't fit me properly, and I internalize it as being my body's the issue versus the clothing is the issue. The clothing is not fitting me. No, we think of the blame on us. My body can't fit in the clothing. Those are the 4 things that are the negatives about having too many options, too many opportunities. So now I'm going to be getting into the 6 principles that kind of relate back to all of those fears that we have, the 4 problems of fear of making the wrong decision, opportunity cost of always thinking like something could have been better, escalation of expectations, having a perfectionistic mindset, and also self-blame of always thinking we're the issue. To detox from some of those mindsets and limiting beliefs of why we are so trapped in this analysis paralysis, I flipped it and I created these 6 different principles. The first one is little by little is better than nothing. This one kind of helps with the fact that with the opportunity costs of thinking like I could have gotten something better, sometimes it holds me back from making a decision because I'm constantly waiting and waiting and waiting for a better option. That's also with the escalation of expectations. And I'm waiting for this perfect moment to do something, and then I don't take any action at all. So it's important to remember that little by little, it's so much better than just waiting for that moment. It's better to take small, consistent steps forward than waiting for this ideal moment where you can take a leap. If you want to look at 2 different people, say person A waited for those moments to leap, and then person B just kept going consistently, person B would be so much farther in life than person A, because honestly, there are very, very few perfect moments. If you struggle with having a fear of making the wrong decision in life because of maybe past poor decisions and you dealt with a lot of self-blame, remember that too, nothing is permanent. I think it's really important to remember that there are very, very few decisions in life, choices that you will have that will be irreversible, where you cannot choose a different path. Understanding that you can kind of adjust your course of action, like literally whenever, is so powerful, because I think I struggle with this thing where, like I went to school for forensic science and I feel limited by that degree, but I'm approaching it in such a lack mindset when I could be approaching it in a positive mindset of all these transferable skills in so many different fields that I could go into in the future. So remember that whatever you've done in the past, it's not permanent. You can change things now. 3 is limit your decision fatigue. Like I was just thinking about how maybe I could sign up for this workout schedule. I had one when I was in university, which was so helpful. On top of all my studies, there was no way for me to come up with like a workout schedule. And that was just a simple way of doing something that was automatic. I didn't need to think about it. But you can also just create certain routines here and there, like in your morning and your evening, to get a few tasks done. Like a routine just saves a lot of energy. In the beginning of building that habit and building that routine, yes, that does take energy, but eventually it's going to be automatic. And that just saves all your willpower for the day to make other novel decisions. The fourth principle is every decision has risk. I really like this because I think that if you are afraid of making the wrong decision, I think a lot of us kind of go through like a pros and cons list of things that are good about this decision, bad about this decision. And that's good to a certain extent, but you have to also remember that none of us can predict the future. Like none of us can predict what the risks are, all of them at least, all the risks and all the cons of this decision. And we also don't know about all the pros of this decision, because sometimes that just unfolds with life and with you embodying that decision. Being afraid of making a decision because you don't know all the risks, you're literally just prolonging indecision. Every time that I've encountered some sort of obstacle in my life or a certain risk that came up about this decision, I was able to tackle it so much easier than when I was in that state of questioning what that risk could be. Like that is so draining because we just don't have that ability to predict the future, but I'm able to deal with the issue when it happens. So I think to remember to trust yourself, that you've gotten yourself through obstacles in the past, will be, like the role model for you to look into, like your past self, to knowing that whatever decision you make, you're going to be able to get through those obstacles too. The fifth principle is there's no failing, only learning. I really like this. I sent it to my boyfriend because the two of us just feel so much pressure on ourselves to succeed when we do get in those moments of self-blame, when we make that wrong decision. I've been really hard on myself in the past when I've made the wrong decisions or when I wasn't meeting the expectations of perfection. I have to remember that with life, it's just like I'm growing and I'm learning. I'm growing and I'm learning. I don't like the term failure because failure means I'm not having faith in a higher power and what it wants for me in my life. Like I failed. What about if that was meant to be? What about if I was meant to have that door closed so that I would go into another door? I'd go into a new direction. If there is a door that closes, it doesn't always mean that you failed. In fact, I don't want to say at all that you failed. I want to say that I'm learning something. I have to remember not to blame myself for being in this state. I'm in a learning and reflective period. And that's what life is all about, of like being in that ebb and flow, or growth and learning cycle, to not put yourself down so much. The sixth one is perfectionism is the enemy of progress. And that kind of helps with the escalation of expectations of expecting perfectionism every time. If you will expect perfectionism every time, you may not ever come to a real decision, because humans are meant to be flawed. This earth is meant to be imperfect. If it was perfect, we would have never evolved since like the cavemen times. We're meant to have mishaps and mistakes and learn from them and grow and evolve so that this species and this earth can keep moving forward with time. If not, like we just stay stagnant in this perfectionistic state, and it doesn't exist here. It's not meant to exist on this earth. So to remember that perfectionism is not a thing. It's an illusion. It's one of the biggest illusions from trying to listen to your intuition and making little choices for yourself. to let go of that and just kind of see life for what it is and making a decision for what you know and what you've done in the past. And that little inkling inside of you of telling you what you could do. That can help you just keep inching forward in life in any decisions that you want to make. Those 6 principles I need to keep remembering to embody because I just feel like I struggle with all 4 of those. Like, I'm afraid to make the wrong decision because of what other people may think of me. I'm constantly thinking of like, could I have made a better decision? Or I wait for when I know everything to do something. This podcast, I was not ready before I started it. I didn't know everything before I made this decision to do the podcast. And I think that kind of helped me just like letting it go and just trying it out before I waited for this perfect moment before I knew everything. I've done so much more in this than I ever thought I could have. And I think sometimes if you just let it go, you'll surprise yourself with the decisions you make. And some of the people will ask you like, wow, how did you do that? How did you come to those decisions? And it's literally just the power of your mind, of detoxing from all these ideas and things that we've set up for ourselves to fail. I think the ultimate failure is just kind of falling victim to life. That is how I feel is one of the ways that we are massively limiting ourselves, is thinking that we don't have the control to make the reality that we want. I hope that you guys have an amazing week. Don't be too hard on yourself. Try and think about these 6 principles and the 4 negatives about having too many choices. What one relates with you the most? Like, is it you're afraid of making the wrong decision? Are you constantly thinking like, oh, I could have made a better decision when you do make some choices or make some decisions? Or are you waiting for this perfect moment that will never happen? Maybe you're in a state where you have just made a poor decision and you are, going through this self-loathing, self-blaming process. And I've been there. Try and notice what's happening right now and see which principles are really going to uplift you. Put it on your mirror, put it on your wall, put it somewhere that you can like constantly remind yourself every morning, like little by little is better than nothing. The perfectionism is the enemy of progress, or, every decision has risk, to remind you that it's going to be okay and you're going to get through this. And you're not meant to be perfect, and that's okay. I love you guys. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.